In this lecture, we will be discussing about stress and intonation used in English language. Stress and intonation are important elements of speaking because it greatly impacts how the message is communicated to the listener and how it is perceived by the listener. So, usually, stress is an emphasis or prominence given to a certain syllable in a word, or it can be certain words in a sentence or a phrase. So, we have stress in sentence as well as words, which we can call as sentence stress and word stresses. So it can be classified as two: sentence stress and word stress. Now, in sentence stress, an emphasis is given to certain words in a sentence, or as mentioned, a phrase. Now, these words that are stressed in a sentence is what we call as content words. We have content words and function words. Function words are words that perform a certain function in a sentence, like articles, pronouns, prepositions. So these are what we call as function words. And content words are words like nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. And these are the words that are stressed in a sentence. So it is the content word that is stressed in a sentence and not the function word. So the example given here, the kids are at the park. So here the words that will be stressed in this particular sentence will be kids and park. Now, when we talk about word stress, there are so many rules and regulations to be understood while we study word stress. For now, we'll just look at certain rules. Now, word stress, like I mentioned, certain syllables will be stressed while pronouncing a word. Now, if it is a one syllable word, it is usually the first syllable that is stressed. Okay, so if it is a one syllable word and we are talking about, if it is just a one syllable word like jump or cat, okay, in all these cases it is a one syllable word, and in one syllable word it is always the first syllable that is stressed. Now, if we are talking about two syllable words and if it is a noun or an adjective, okay, two syllable words where we are talking about a noun or an adjective, it is the first syllable that is stressed. Whereas if it is a word or a verb or a preposition, then it is the second syllable that is stressed. So when we are talking about two syllable words, if it is a noun or an adjective, it is the first syllable, and if it is a verb or a preposition, it is the second syllable. So there are many rules related to word stress. For now, we'll just focus on these rules. So this is what is sentence stress and word stress. Now we can classify stress into four different types. The first is tonic stress, then we have emphatic stress, contrastive stress, and new information stress. Now we will look into each one of this. The first type of stress is tonic stress, and it refers to the syllable in a word which receives the most stress. For example, the word rate. Now we talked about, how in a two syllable verb, it is the second syllable that is stressed. If it is one syllable, it is the first syllable. So this particular example, rate, has one syllable and it is the first syllable that is stressed. If it is another word, escape, it is the second syllable that is stressed. So the syllable that receives the most stress is what we call as tonic stress. The second type is emphatic stress. Now we discussed how the content words in a sentence are stressed. Now there would be certain cases where we would wish to stress one word more than the other word. In this particular example, that was a difficult test. Okay, so I am stressing on the word test over here, but I want to give emphasis to how difficult the test was. So I would say that was a difficult test. In that case, I am giving more emphasis to the word difficult than test. This is what we call as emphatic stress when we wish to switch the emphasis or transition the emphasis from one word to another. Then we have contrastive stress, like the word indicates, when we are trying to point out the difference between one object and the other. We will have to stress those two words. For example, do you like this or that? Do you want a pen or a pencil? So I'm giving two options over here and I wish to stress those two options. The fourth type of stress is new information stress. So when a question is asked to get more information or to get a new information about something, we naturally stress that. For example, what is your name? Here I want to know your name. That is a new information what I want. And the response would be, my name is George. So that name would be stressed. The information that I want would be stressed. Here it is not the word name that is stressed in the response, but it is the word George that is stressed, because that is the information I am looking for. So these are the four types of stress. Intonation is the variation of pitch while we are speaking. So the variation that happens in the tone is what we call as intonation. And intonation mainly are of two types, but again we categorize it into three. Falling intonation is the first one, then we have rising intonation, and then partial intonation, which is also called as falling rising intonation. Falling intonation is the pitch movement from high to low. So when a statement is uttered, the statement starts off in a high tone and it goes down. The pitch goes down. It is usually used in WH questions and general statements. I'm going home now. So there is a falling intonation over there. Rising intonation is the opposite to that. The pitch movement will be moving from low to high. So when the statement starts, it is from low and it goes up. It is usually, rising intonation usually is used in yes or no questions, or while we are reading a list, like we have certain list of things. Then in those cases it is a rising intonation. And the final intonation, which we call as like partial intonation, is there would be a switch in it starts off from rising, then it falls. So there is a change, there would be a constant transition. So these are the different types of intonations: falling intonation, rising intonation, and partial intonation.